Welcome to the panel, gentlemen. Welcome, audience. Normally, I've been on digital transformation panels for the last several years, sometimes on this side of the table, sometimes on that. And normally, we used to always start the session by talking about what is digital transformation. But sometime in 2020, one virus came out of China and schooled everyone in a way regarding digital transformation in a way that no conference or no management consultant could. So I will not focus too much on digital transformation, focus on various aspects of digital transformation which as CIOs, all of you would have personally participated in it. And we have some IT partners who would have seen transformations happening with various customers. We'll understand from them what are, what they see as a common thread with the different customers who are implementing it in their own respective ways. So Gaurav and Tapan, if you could just, to start off with, give us your view about digital transformation, how you have seen various customers approach it, what are the kind of mistakes they make, what are the things that they are doing right, what are the industries which have taken up digital transformation more successfully than some of the other industries?
Sure. So a couple of primer points. Earlier, back in the days, used to have like a 32 MB RAM computer. You would say, wow. Now 8 GB device, we have it in hand. The processing power is with the people. This is a primary device. It is more primary than even a copybook or a pen to a person. So there's the complete transformation has happened. From an India standpoint, if you see, we are delivering in 29,000 plus pin codes. There is a single taxation system. There is a single, payment system. All that is pretty connected. Average age of the population is about 25 years of age. Propensity to consume is very, very high. Young people who have learned technology. 900 million phones with internet connection in hand. So pretty much that's the canvas. That becomes now the transformation at a base level in the country that has happened. Now, with this transformation at the base level, what has it happened to the retailers is they have to hyper-personalize for each person. Now, a user doesn't accept that कि यार James Bond को तो martini मिल जाती है, shaken not stirred, उसको Aston Martin मिल जाती है, but हमको hyper-personalized personal communication क्यों नहीं मिलता? And any brand, and most of the brands I know here who've done it, like Ranjan very successfully have done it, anybody who comes in the store gets a very, very personalized treatment for what they wear, what's their frame, etc., etc. So the brands which are, the three things which the brands are doing very well now is one is they have a clear customer view, very hyper-personalized. Second, each of their communication offers promotion, the number of times they interact with the customer is very, very hyper-personalized. Third, the focus is very much on a lifetime value. It is not कि कोई उसको burn करना है. It's not, but from a lifetime value, the focus is there. So technology is built around the customer's ease of doing business. That's what I feel that has happened now. Gaurav?
Thank you. Very interesting question, right? So one of the most important mistakes, or rather aspects of digital transformation that I've seen larger or rather older format retail, primarily brick and mortar companies not fully understand is there are two different worlds in which a consumer lives, right? So when I shop online on the same website, on the same brand's website, I'm fully in control of my destiny with respect to that shopping experience. So let's say I'm on Shopper Stop's website and I'm trying to build my cart and make my purchase. I am in full control of what I'm buying, right? I can abandon that shopping now and continue it 2 hours later. I'm in full control of my physical environment as well. And I can tailor it to my needs. But when I go to a physical store and if someone sort of, pushes an I am here to interact with people and do a more involved purchase, and suddenly I'm being asked to interact with technology as well. then there is a change of worlds happening. And this change of worlds, or change of context rather, is not very seamless for human beings. In software consumer technology, we have this law called the Doherty threshold. 400 milliseconds, if the response is not beginning to arrive, the customer will drop off from that action, right? In the physical world, I'm in the Doherty threshold. So when I ask a question to, let's say, the shopkeeper or to the retail personnel, they are going to respond immediately. But at the same time, if you throw a device in my hand, or you ask me to go interact with that device, essentially, then my experience is breaking. And unfortunately, not everyone understands that that Doherty threshold is very, very real. So if you have a rather slow website running on your store computer or on your tablet, the customer is more likely to say, hey, this doesn't work for me. Maybe it's another brand that I need to shop with, or maybe I need a more involved way of buying, right? So digital transformation is happening, but these nuances of the digitalness of the shopping experience probably are getting missed out. Not in all cases, of course, but in a lot of cases, right? And that's one of the biggest challenges that I would like to start with. Then we'll talk about more as we proceed.
Yeah. So one question that I would like to pose to the CIOs here is, how is the digital agenda set and executed in your respective organizations?
So digital agenda is not very specific to a CIO. It's today's part and integral part of company's agenda. So especially retailers like us, a QSR business, where we have a physical restaurant, which is a brick and mortar, but my customer is all over. Yeah, my customer is all over. So we sell on the platforms like Swiggy, Zomato, which aggregators where we don't have complete control of customer, what they want, where they are buying, how the offering, because it's controlled by another app-based companies. And we have our own app-based customers who sit at home and order online. These are some of the customers who are just being used to buy like this from a period of time. But now, as this same customer, when he comes to the store, that's what just what Gaurav is mentioning, they expect a very seamless experience with some digital touch points also. So we see the digital transformation or the digital agenda is more towards the brick and mortar, how you will make your store, the physical brick and mortar, into a digital experience to the customer and give the seamless experience, more or less. It's how you're buying online, sitting at home, or when you come to a restaurant, how you're buying. The experience should be same, the menu laddering should be same, the offering should be same, and whatever the loyalty or whatever around the customer incentive should be offered the same. So this is what we see. This is more towards a customer centric, and it's an agenda of the organization.
So Ranjan, you want to dwell on that?
Yeah. So I think from our perspective as an organization, I think what's important from a digital journey from any a fashion brand or a retail organization, it is driven by a few key areas that you want to focus on, and that depends upon organization to organization, and every organization reacts very differently. But one thing for sure that everybody is investing upon, or is a focus area, is around the customer. And what are you doing around the customer, whether the customer is on the digital platforms or whether he's in the store. And the digital transformation from a customer's perspective is not happening one way, I would say, from e-commerce to the stores, but it's happening both ways. Because you always had a very, very rich experience which was coming. Why was a customer actually taking that pain to come to a store, walk into a store, spend some time there and then buy? And why is it happening still today? From our perspective, 85% of our sales still comes from offline stores. Why is it happening? And this is not going to die. Let's accept the fact. Which means that these customers are going to continue to come in. That's because of the experience that they are getting, because of that personalized touch that they are getting. And that's where the digital overlay on top of that personal touch which is there needs to be done. And that's where I think digital transformation starts playing a role not in isolation. So the digital transformation has to become an overlay in terms of the person who is there, my fashion consultant who is there, who is dealing with that customer, who is attending to that customer. How can I enable him to have a more intrinsic conversation with that customer, make it more relatable to that customer, make it much more so much more personalized, but still in the way where there is somebody, he's not talking to a machine, but having a person who is actually doing all the talking and being able to also overlay his own perspective, which is the human, on top of whatever the digital journey or the digital information that is coming in. Let's also accept the fact, retail, from a retail's perspective, the attrition rates have always been very, very high. And that's where, again, the digital transformation starts playing a role in the stores, because then you are standardizing the information, the messaging that you are standardizing in terms of going to a customer, talking to a customer, offerings that you're placing in front of a customer, and also in terms of how you're positioning things. And if the customer starts asking you, different customers will be at a different maturity level in terms of the product. How do you deal with that? Bringing enough information into the hands of the person on the shop floor to be able to deal with that customer and be able to give him a much better experience, a much richer experience.
Sure. Sandeep, one of the agendas, while you can dwell on or expand on what Ranjan and Kiran spoke about, one of the reasons why companies undertake digital transformation is also to start offering new services to customers beyond what is their core service. Like, if I were to give you an example, like Uber as an organization, they also pivoted into Uber Eats. We saw during the pandemic, Swiggy pivot into grocery delivery, medicine delivery, so on and so forth. So as an organization, you can talk about Shopper Stop or give any other examples that you're aware of where the agenda of digital transformation is also to pivot into newer areas of doing business, newer revenue and profit opportunities.
Sure. So I'll take the original question first. Who is owning or who is driving the digital agenda at the organization and how it is done at, let's say, my organization? So it is driven by the leadership team. I mean, it has to start from there. If it is not imbibed or owned by the leadership or starts from the CEO, it's not going to run through. So that's what we do at Shopper Stop. We pick up specific areas in our own, department and try to figure out, what works best for each of the functions for digitization and prioritize it for a kind of a 3-year roadmap. And for some, it could be automation of Excel-based work, but for some, it could be, completely different agenda. And coming to areas of, generating new revenue streams, of course, there could be new revenue streams or new ways of selling. For example, today at Shopper Stop, we use a personal shopper app to engage with customers on the floor, which is a very, very personalized way of selling, things to people. Can take an appointment and, they get a personal experience with the personal shopper who has access to information about the customer. So that is a personalized way of selling in a brick and mortar format. So you can give a similar experience of e-commerce where you do a lot of personalized recommendations, but here you have a human plus a machine interface combined to provide that personal experience in a brick and mortar format. So that's one of the ways that we are exploiting technology to provide a personalized shopping experience in a brick and mortar format with the use of technology. Of course, it could be used in a lot of other areas like, there's express delivery. So if you are within a certain kilometer of the store, you can get a 2-hour delivery for some gifting occasions or, some on occasions like Valentine's Day. We are doing a lot of beauty business, so you want to gift perfumes and things like that. So, of course, technology can be used to drive those, additional revenue streams.
So, Joy, while speaking about how the digital agenda is driven, you could also sort of take us through what are the changes, and I'll come back to you gentlemen with the same question. What are the kind of changes that you have done in your organization to drive digital transformation? So, for example, do you have new positions created in the organization hierarchy? In the technology teams, do you have new positions? Or, for example, have you made tweaks in your build versus buy strategies?
Perfect. So I think, Ranjit, I mean, if we start with the previous question also, it kind of marries to the current one. Now, from a digital agenda perspective, it's always two facets to the same question, right? One is the demand side of it, and the other is the supply side of it, right? Now, from a demand side of it, what you're basically doing is you're opening a different sales channel. Your revenue model remains the same. You're opening a different sales channel. You are giving a fillip to the online channel. And you, of course, have either from an F&B perspective, either you deliver or you get customers into the stores. And F&B, one of the major, I think still F&B is that area wherein it's still experience-led. So it's still brick and mortar led, right? I mean, even though there are consumptions that happen through aggregators. The second part of it is the supply side of it. Meaning, I think what Ranjan said was, how do you, once a customer is at the store, okay? So one is of course, if you're catering to a customer from delivery, okay? So of course there are certain hygiene factors that you will look into. I'm not talking about that. Now, if you get a customer at the store, that's where the supply side of it comes into play. You arm the person at the point of purchase with the relevant information to cross-sell, upsell. That's one. Number two, based on past purchase data that you have, how do you customize and hyper-personalize, as we talk of, okay, for that consumers, from a consumer's taste perspective. And that becomes key from an F&B perspective. Now, I mean, especially if we are not talking of, if we are talking of premium F&B, cafe, QSR, cafe chain, I would want to, I mean, if after having tried the brand like a couple of times, I mean, one would be able to sift through the data and figure out what's the person looking at and what's the kind of taste that person caters to. And the aha moment would be when the person at the point of purchase is able to suggest exactly what the customer wants to hear, right? Now, and then there would be other supply side, the agenda would also be driven by other supply side things in terms of real-time information, how do you put it into the stores, all of that. Now, coming back to your second question with respect to the changes in org structure. So it clearly brings in changes from, let's talk of the demand side first. The entire focus of marketing has shifted to digital marketing in a big way, which effectively has, I mean, and who provides data there? Analysts have become a key role there
So do your product managers now as part of the tech team or the marketing team?
So we are too new in India to have a definite role created for one product manager. The role exists. It's not, it's not people-centric now, right? So it's of course divided amongst a group of people, but the role definitely exists. So that's one part of it. Now that's the demand part of it. The other is the supply part of it, wherein I think two department becomes key. One is the customer experience team, right? So from an F&B standpoint, each feedback becomes key because it's right there, right? I mean, you're going to experience the product at that point of consumption. And many a times that's when you right away give the feedback, okay? Whether it's with respect to the product, whether it's respect to the customer experience one is experiencing. So customer experience becomes a key role. The other being from an IT standpoint, because the moment consumption goes beyond your, so if you're looking into a normal, F&B timing, brick and mortar timing, there are times of the day wherein the consumption are fairly predictable, right? Because we are a breakfast to a midnight cafe. So one can predict that this is when the traffic would come in. But there are other times wherein we are talking of I mean, that's where the idea is to segment the time and figure out where do you bring your traffic. I mean, can you leverage the digital channel for the other time, beat of the day or beat of the week, right? The lean times, that's what I'm talking about. So that's when, and the moment we do this, the amount of fulfillment that IT or customer experience team would have to do is humongous. It goes up, it gets multiplied. And of course, retail being retail, weekends play a huge role as well, okay? So I think that's from a, if you have to look into the entire portfolio, that's the change comes. Analysis becomes key. Your focus
So
on
no
customer
organizational
experience.
changes?
Yeah, so organizational changes, as I said, I mean, one is the digital marketing part, the analysis part, and the how do you leverage a mix of partners as well as internal players to cater to the increased demand, right, from an IT or customer experience perspective.
Sandeep, any changes in Shopper Stop?
Yeah, definitely. We have created a dedicated team for digital transformation, and we have hired product managers to focus on product. We have changed the entire thing from project focus to product focus, because project is start and end, and then you move on to next project. But in digital transformation, you need to continuously get involved in research and continuously monitor the product analytics and try to improve it, and you have more focused on the outcome of the product, not just the delivery. So these are definitely two changes that we have done within the IT department. And of course, we have, instead of creating project lead or, tech lead and the traditional structure, we have created pods, which would have a product manager, analytics guy, a developer, a tester, and, they will be empowered teams to work independently. They will not have to again get approvals, and they will not fall into the hierarchy of the existing IT organization. That is one change in the IT. On the business side, we have requested all the CXOs to nominate their champions. So these champions, have been groomed on what are the possibilities in today's digital world, and basis that now they are able to think much more broadly in terms of what changes can be done within their respective functions. So this combination of business champions plus a new transformation team and a new empowered pod structure, that is what is helping us to deliver results quickly.
Okay. Ranjan, anything different in Bestseller?
Yeah, so we made a few changes within the organization, and one of the key decisions that we took about a year and a half back was we said nobody in the business has time for IT projects. Nobody in the business has time for IT projects. If you go to them for a requirement, they definitely need a lot of things from technology, but they really do not have the time or the bandwidth to be able to define that. Then the next problem was, if you've defined that, as a technology guy, after interaction with them, they do not have the time to be able to look at it and sign it off. And without that, from a technology perspective, delivering something was like a suicidal thing to do. So one of the big changes that we brought in within our organization is we created a separate team today. We just gave it a name and we call it PMO. Technically, it's not a PMO, but the way how we did was we pulled out people from different function who were experts in their specific function out of their day-to-day work, put them completely into this, who are supposed to be the central guys who are researching around that process. So pulled out a sales guy, and as senior as a regional manager, we pulled out from sales, who is part of this team. And his job is to take care of the overall sales journey within the organization, to be able to innovate, be able to ideate, be able to research, work with technology and the business organizations to be able to figure out what does the business organization needs, what technology, and work with technology organization to be able to figure out how can we deliver that and what more can we do around that space. Identify the blind spots and be able to not just think from today, because most of the times when you go to the business user, he will talk about his today's challenge, and you cannot deliver technology for today, solving today's problems. You'll have to deliver for a longer term period. You'll have to think from a futuristic perspective. That's where this team of people, actually this bunch of people actually have started adding a lot of value into the projects, expediting these project life cycles, and being able to ensure that we are solving today's problems with an eye on the future, and from a technology perspective, being ready for the future as well. The other change that we're trying to bring, we've not made these changes as of now, we are all in a process of making these changes within our technology organization, is we are trying to become a little more of an agile organization, where we are saying we'd rather have a process-centric technology organization. So maybe I have a bunch of people who are focusing on a specific process, maybe sales. Have a bunch of people who are aligned to that, who are looking at sales as a process, cut across different solutions, cut across different technologies, so they understand and they are able to go much more deeper into the subject rather than at the surface and understanding only the technology. And they become the enablers, they sit in the center to be able to work with the business organization, these PMO guys, as well as the technology organization, and they have their own set of team members who are empowered to be able to take decisions and deliver faster. Because it's also about solving faster and being agile in terms of delivering quicker to see results and then keep innovating on top of it. So these are two major changes that we've been bringing within our organization, which is helping us to do things better.
Kiran, anything specific in Burger King?
Yeah. Coming to the leadership team level and a management level, yes, we have a team of digital marketing and product and the tech part of the team. It's at a leadership team. So if you look at a business, the significant business comes from a digital platforms, for which they need a team sitting in the center, can control the business, working with vendor partners, so CleverTap, Razorpay. There are many people who work with us, so we control it centrally. But when it comes to creating the same digital experience at a brick and mortar, when it comes to a stores where to create the experience, there is a lot of transformation required, and we are in a journey. It's not that anyone has reached there. We all are trying to go there. Creating your in-store employees or the customer-facing employees to create more customer experience rather doing the traditional job of handling a point of sale or doing something which is very not relevant in today's world. Today's world, you have to create a digital touch points in the restaurants or the retail outlet, which these guys will create an experience to the customer, help them, and that's where the journey where we are moving through. So if you,
so for example, if you find that you get customer feedback that, say, a particular kind of interaction, customer interaction in the store is specifically very jarring, how long would it take for you to build a solution that will take care of the problem?
So that's why to hear the customer, the entire in the digital platform, there are so many data points which we collect. There are certain action points which are on the go, like when customer is doing a transaction, he needs some help. It will be a real time, for which there will be a call center and it will be converted to stores and will hear it. And there are certain things which are post-mortem, like there is some feedback or there is some refunds which will be controlled and which will have a different tact. However, everything, whatever coming through digital has to be controlled centrally. It cannot be having a different experience in different stores. So we make sure that this data is controlled through tools, and how we interact back to the customer, we control it through these digital teams.
So, Gaurav and Tapan, I mean, you would have worked with a lot of legacy companies who are trying to go digital, and you would also work with companies that are born digital. Your own companies are born digital. So, what do you think really separates these born digital companies from companies trying to become digitally agile and transform themselves?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest differences that you will see is the DNA itself, right? So the DNA, by the DNA, what I mean is, what do they see a customer as, what do they see a process as, and are they willing to challenge fundamentally everything and anything that's there, right? So, I mean, one of the important things of digital transformation is not as much as digital, but it is the transformation. Are you fundamentally willing to relook at every process that exists in your organization to suit what the customer needs? And some parts of it will get digital and some parts will not, right? So I think that is one aspect where digital native organizations have an advantage because their DNA is built as a challenger DNA. Secondly, I think it also helps them, from an org design point of view, because they fundamentally think end to end. They think customer backwards, end to end. So the similar definition of what marketing evolved into from into value chain essentially. The same thing goes for building experiences also. It is completely experience backwards. So let's say customer steps into the store. Now that's not a digital experience. That is not a digital team's job. That is not a retail team's job. It is everyone's job, and they all need to sort of fundamentally relook at if this customer belongs to cohort A, then how should we behave versus if they belong to cohort B, and how do they detect it and then sort of optimize it. So being able to blur those org design lines and and very good to hear that some retail first organizations are already doing that. That certainly helps digital native companies to build more unique experiences. And I think speed is essentially one of the powers in younger organizations. And digital first organizations, by their very org design and their challenger nature, are speed first, right? Speed is of the essence, not because you want to go to market with a new experience fast, but you want to fail on your biggest hypothesis the fastest, and then learn from it, and then sort of iterate and scale. So speed from that essence, right? Not from the essence of you going faster on a better experience 10 months hence is not going to be a deal breaker as much as you not learning about it in 10 months. And that's why your question on how quickly can you implement a solution to a breakage that you experience, I think that's very important. I think these would be the top three aspects where digital first score better.
Tapan, any additions to that?
Yes, actually, in India, to people, browser has not happened, but WhatsApp has happened, touch has happened. So the whole traditional business has actually leapfrogged a big wave. And Gaurav can talk better than this. They are very comfortable doing a digital online transaction anywhere, but they don't know how to type www. So I see that three things are happening very fast in traditional and both born online businesses. First is the metaverse is coming very real, very fast. There is a POS data which is getting married to the online footprint of the customer and channels that the customer goes to Instagram. All that marriage of offline and online data is happening very fast, and both the sides of businesses are very logically preparing for it. And I'm sure, like Kiran also said this, that it is happening very, very fast. Second thing which is happening very fast here is they are measuring first and then acting second. So they will do a simulation first. Okay, what is my analytics, segmentation, number of consumers? They are not doing a marketing bonfire. Earlier, back in the days, hoarding लगा दो, जितने लोग निकलते हैं सब देखेंगे. Number one. Number two, एक list है, सबको email blast कर दो, सबको SMS blast कर दो, सबको message चला जाएगा. Now nobody is wanting to do this. They say कि इसके लिए relevant क्या है? You cannot touch my consumer more than 3 times in a month, etc. And the third thing is context. They want to touch the user in the context. For example, they know if on my app I am checking notifications at 10 p.m. in the night and I don't check my SMSs, they will send me a notification at 9:55. The probability of getting that notification read is very, very high. So the amount of wastage decrease in marketing budget is very, very low. So all these technologies and the data is coming together so well that both traditional and born online businesses are doing very well.
Great. So to the CIOs, while you are undertaking digital transformation, I'm sure you're also measuring its success. So I would just like to go around each of you and quickly tell us how do you measure your digital transformation success?
So
Basically, what matrices do you use? Like in traditional retail, we have Jimroll to measure how the store is doing. But digital transformation is more fuzzy, right? It's how do you measure that? How do you measure customer satisfaction? How do you measure the efficiency of the investments that you are doing in digital transformation?
So first of all, what are the digital tools you are providing to your customer? It's not by choice. It's like what customer want you have to provide, right? So when you are providing certain tools, you obviously need to measure them, either they are working for you or not. And there is no common mantra saying that this tool works. So it's again works in some areas, it may not work. In store, something will work, and apps, a different kind of tools work. So all these are measured and based on the customer cycle, how it is being acted, that is taken. So in QSRs, like today, QSR is a quick service restaurant, right? You want to check out the customer. But today the trend is changing. The customer doesn't want to stand in front of a pause and order. He wants to sit on a table, he wants to scan a QR code and order the food. So this is not my choice, it's a customer choice. So I have to move there. And the self-ordering kiosk. Before, at times that customer doesn't like to come and order something. They want to stand in front of an employee and say what they want. But now most of these millennial customers, they want to order by themselves. They don't want, if they need help, they will ask, but they don't want us to be interacted. So we measure this and we see what is the percentage of customer conversions. And it's again geographical ways. It's not that every city have a same. So you have to see where exactly what is working and use it. And for that we use measuring tools, which is working in which areas, and we try to implement this.
So any new parameters of measurement, Ranjan, like for example, perfect customer delivery. Now that is something which online marketplaces do, but legacy retailers don't do. Have you now sort of graduated to some of these new ways of measuring performance now that you're digital?
Yeah, so I think the measurement parameters itself have changed because the way how we are changing and the way how we are evolving, the digital native organizations have shown a very, very different path. And today when the customer is seamlessly moving between the two, the digital channels and the offline channels. And he's expecting the same experience on both sides. If he can get a product delivered to his home when he's shopped on a digital channel in say 24 hours, he's expecting the same to happen even if he's placed an order at a store, which for a product which might not be in that particular store and is somewhere else, but he's expecting again that delivery to happen within that 24 hours. And these are the matrices which have started coming up in terms of what is the, and this is where the line is blurring between the digital channels and the offline channels, not just about the delivery, even from an experience perspective, customers are willing to give that feedback in terms of saying what was his experience when he or the time that he spent in the store. What is it that he was looking for that he did not get into the store? Those kind of matrices are, or what is it that he had bought last time that he did not like? Or what went wrong with the last purchase? Maybe in the second wash, the product color faded and he did not like that. So he's willing to give that much more information, especially in our kind of brands where we are talking to very, very young customers. Maybe our brands cater to customers around, most of our customers are around between 16 to 28 years of age. That's a very, very young customer. That customer is not averse to giving information as long as they get value for that information that they're paying. And the value is in terms of the services that they get, in terms of the personalization that happens for them, and in terms of how I am able to reach out to them and provide enough information or product to them which is relevant for them for that particular occasion, because now they are no more buying fashion, saying ab to Holi Diwali mein hi kapde kharidne hain. They are buying throughout the year. How am I able to make that particular experience memorable for him?
Sandeep?
First of all, I would say, I'll just take a step back and say, we should establish a strong success criteria for any digital intervention so that we are able to establish the effectiveness. So, now coming to the absolute metrics, traditionally we see a conversion or a transaction as a success of any promotion or any intervention that we do. But I think today in digital world, behavioral and influencing interactions of a customer, which is liking your Instagram post or sharing your post or writing comments on various blogs. These kind of inputs also, if you take into account, you are able to better measure the effectiveness of the digital interventions you are doing on various platforms, and you can take a step forward and then retarget that customer and convert. But finally, in terms of absolute business, any investment in technology or digital transformation, if not translating into top line or bottom line, will not go through. So ultimately, the last metrics is still conversion or a sale to happen. But so, intermediate metrics should help you to track.
Sorry to interrupt. So do you, for example, track the number of new features that you offer to customers? And can you have a direct correlation of that to say top line? To say that before we offered it, this was the top line and now this is the new top line.
See, that correlation may or may not happen, but the objective of product analytics is to make sure that out of 5 or 10 or 15 features that you're trying, there are takers for how many and what is that journey leading to. So you may end up discontinuing. So you will still use those inputs to take a decision to discontinue, let's say 5 out of the 15 things you're doing, but the rest 5 will definitely lead to conversion. So to answer your question, the intermediate metrics will help me to take decisions to ultimately reach to a transaction. So to answer your question, yes, it will, but it will be a journey. It will not be that 15 things lead to a transaction or not will not be clear. So, but ultimately there are 5 or 3 or most effective things which lead to next page, to cart, to checkout, to payment, will establish the correlation between a feature and a successful transaction.
Okay.
So Ranjit, from a F&B standpoint, I guess the matrices haven't changed. From a measurement standpoint, one is ADT. I mean, daily traffic. Now the question is whether your ADT is increasing across multiple channels, not only the physical channels, whether the digital channels, whether the ADT is, I mean, you see repeat customer behavior, the same customer purchasing, the consuming back from digital channels as well. Okay, so that's one part of it. Now these are for existing customers. From a new customer perspective, of course, the focus would be on whether the cost of acquisition, okay, is actually going down, right? The third metrics would be in terms of items per transaction, right? Now, while that's a KPI that has always got measured, the question is now, we are one of those brands which focus a lot on digital easels, putting in the menu on controlling the content from a centralized standpoint. Now, the moment you're doing that, the measurement shifts to what is it that you are communicating versus what's the uptime as an uptick in terms of items per transaction without impacting cost. Now, if cost gets compromised, because if you're running an offer and cost gets compromised, that's not a metric of that shows your, the digital. It's not a success factor from a digital perspective, right? It's a usual behavior. So I think it still stays around this 3. Depends upon how you are, measuring.
So basically, you're saying that your business matrices don't change that much, but you have a tight correlation between what kind of projects or features that you have executed and the change that has impacted your old parameters, right?
Absolutely correct. I mean, I think it ties back to a question that you asked. I mean, depends upon if you have released a feature, do you see a change in customer behavior? I think it ties back to that.
Okay, quickly like a rapid fire. 3 opportunities that are available out there and retailers should tap.
I think interconnectivity, integration of data. So that helps in pivoting the data around customer. That's definitely there. The second opportunity is to be very, very specific about when should you use cloud and how to leverage cloud in a proper way. That's number 2. Number 3 is looking at the data fairly closely. I mean, while there is a huge amount of data out there, and it's a proven stat that despite so much of MIS coming out, despite so much of analysis coming out, 60 to 70% are not even looked at. Okay, so the idea is to look at it very closely, because it is not only about, there are a lot of qualitative aspect to data. I think that's the third one.
Sandeep, opportunities, maybe in 2 or 3 words each opportunity, if you can just sum up.
Ability to track customer in offline store just like online, social commerce, and possibly a magic formula to reduce returns.
Okay.
That's why, for me, I think it's the ability to be able to bring in that same experience because that we have in the store onto our digital platforms for a consumer. That's one of the big pieces that I look forward to. The second is about being able to identify the customer and being able to hyper-personalize his journey or his needs. And the third important aspect that we, from my perspective is, at least from my organization's perspective is around how do I make all of this information actionable to the people available in my organization so that they can act upon it rather than everyone interpreting that data into their own shape and form.
Okay. Kiran?
Yeah, building the bridge between offline and online, that through this digital journey, it's one of the key. The second one is the speed of service, how you're going to get a speed of service seamlessly in different channels. And the third one is, since we are in an integrated world, we use a lot of APIs and we leverage a lot of technologies, how you harmonize them and bring a tight integration. That's one thing where a lot of opportunities I see.
I was actually betting that I would hear the words AI and ChatGPT to this answer. So
Ranjit would like to add to that, right? So typically any buying journey is in 3 parts. There is selection, convenience, and pricing, right? Across each of these 3 verticals, you have an opportunity to delight, and very straightforward opportunities, right? I think today, most customers don't get to see half of the selection, right? They don't know which selection is right for them because they don't know what they don't know, right? So use, like, as an opportunity, use technology to bring more and more of selection in front of your customers and find ways of tailoring that, right? The whole hyper-personalized experience. They might be used to doing something, they might be used to eating a certain kind of a food item, but they don't know what they would like better, and maybe you would, right? So that's on selection. On pricing, and more of this for non-F&B categories. But I often find myself and other co-shoppers in retail stores co-browsing on one of those internet marketplaces, checking out what the right price is, where can I get the best pricing, checking out marketplaces, checking out various other storefronts. Remove that entire job from your customer, do it for them, tell them what is the best price available, enable it for them, right? I mean, depending upon your category, whether you can afford to do that and whether your margins permit or not. But eventually the customer is going to do that. 50 to 60% of customers are doing that. The remaining will learn about it, but in the longer run, they will love you as a brand because you're doing the right thing for them, right? So that's on pricing. And on convenience, I think the whole bunch of things that you spoke about, be it hyper-personalization about, what my needs are, can you make sure the selection is right for me by default, can you make sure that the right offers are crafted for me, the right communication strategy is used for me. I think those across the spectrum, a lot of opportunities, but I would say communication would really stand out, right? Can you communicate to the segment of one, that is me, and do that uniquely?
like OTT has this house party concept where two or three people can co-watch the same movie. I think retailers can also take a leaf out. So the lady can, co-browse the same thing with her sister who's probably living in another state or city.
I think so the big opportunity is personalization, personalization, personalization. We are too tired being treated a faceless guy by a brand actually.
And this is not a pitch.
This is not a pitch. This is a fact of life. James Bond को उसकी tailored martini मिल सकती है, हमको क्यों नहीं मिल सकती यार चाय पिला दो. And we are so, and I don't know, it's some very basic things. For example, in store में पहले एक पता था कि सर आपको जो जैकेट चाहिए था ना वो आ गई है सर. एक फ़ोन आ जाता था. या मैडम वो जो आपको रेड ड्रेस चाहिए थी, इट्स बैक इन स्टॉक. या एक इस वाले बैंक पे ऑफर चल रहा है, आप इससे पेमेंट कर लो, ये अच्छा रहेगा आपके लिए. या आप थोड़े ब्रॉड हो, आप ब्रॉड चेक्स के जैकेट्स में जो रंजन के स्टोर में से सजेशन मिल जाते हैं मेरे को. आप हेयरिंग बोन्स पहनो. तो वो एक पर्सनल टच बहुत मिसिंग है, बहुत जरूरी है. हम फेसलेस हो गए हैं.
So on a lighter note, when you go to a department store and they take your measurements, each time you go, you have to take a measurement for your trouser, right?
Sir, forget measurement. In
You have to
Ranjan's
do it
store.
every time. They don't remember it, right?
True. And forget measurement. In Ranjan's store, and answering very humbly, 4 years back, he waived off the incentive program for anybody who's just pushing out product in the store. He said, सब कुछ omni channel है. Sell what is right for the customer. High waist पहनना है, low waist पहनना है, mid rise पहनना है. जो पसंद है वो बेचो. 1,200 people were there then. I don't know the count now, Ranjan. But he said, okay, you're all fashion consultants. Don't push products out of the store. Just sell what the customer wants. That's the kind of flair. Or what Gaurav was talking about, that advise the customer that if you're buying a device and they have the history that okay, इसके पास HDFC Bank है, use HDFC Bank पे 2,000 रुपए off है. That is personalization. That is retention for a customer.
So let's just have time for one question. Anybody? We have time for one question. Anybody wants to ask? There's one hand there. Can we get a mic up there?
Hello. Hi, sir. So my question is regarding personalization of a offline customer journey. We are able to personalize online customer journey through the data, through their social login. But when the same customer is walking into my store, I'm only able to identify that customer on my system at the time when his journey is about to end at the billing counter. So how do we work on, some thoughts and ideas on personalizing his journey inside a store?
I think there are enough technologies to be able to. So we used to struggle a lot in terms of identify a customer when he's walking into your store, and when we were identifying the customer at the checkout point where you could do nothing but just check him out, because you can't reverse his decision. He's already made the decision. He's made his choices. So I think you'll have to. There are enough technologies for you to be able to identify the customer, and the customer is willing to provide that information. Let me tell you again. Not all customers are averse to providing information. There will be certain customers who will be averse to providing information. Fair enough, we will live with that. But there are enough customers who are willing to provide their information and come and announce at the store, hey, I'm here. Treat me like a king. And that's where the journey has to start. That's where the journey has to begin in terms of if he is ready to declare himself that he's there in the store, what do you do with that customer? Because you have enough data for that customer, his social media profile, his past purchase behavior, his 360-degree view, because that same customer might have gone and discovered the product, his discovery journey somewhere else, gone and looked at a product, added something into the cart in one of your channels, which could be a social commerce, a conversational commerce, or e-commerce. All of these have to start coming together. Only then will you be able to service that customer, and then you back it up with that data, with that person standing in the store, provide that person on the shop floor, that fashion consultant or the salesperson on the shop floor, with all of this information to be able to personalize that journey or that experience for that customer. It's all doable today. There are enough brands and organizations which are piloting and doing certain things around these spaces in bits and pieces. Maybe some of them, everyone is at a different maturity level in terms of being able to cover this entire journey. but this is for real today, this is doable today, and this is happening for sure.
It is doable but creepy.
It's creepy. But as long as the customer is willing to provide that information and say, hey, I am Ranjan Sharma and I've arrived at your store, treat me like a king, then it's not creepy. Then
important point
as
which you
long as the
mentioned is
customer
not
willing
just
to
at the
say that.
POS, but your fashion consultant has a small device. You say, okay, and then you immediately start a different journey.
No, I'm saying creepy because one way of doing it is facial identification. That's creepy.
That's creepy. That's creepy.
The second is some years ago somebody had come with a solution saying that I have access to IMEI numbers of customers' mobiles, and when they walk into the store, you can actually know who's walked into the store. So that's creepy as well.